Hey Gooby, you're now listening to Buddy Time. On today's episode, we're diving into the responsibilities of creation and the power of community through art with our guest speaker, Gideon Doron. Ready to turbocharge your day with us? Let's begin our voyage. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Buddy Time. We're so glad that you're back with us today to listen to our episode, listeners. Today, we're joined by Gideon, a teacher, advocate, and artist who's currently living, teaching, and creating in Bangkok. Hello, Gideon. How's it going?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for inviting me here.
So lovely to have you with us. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners?
I'll try my best to cover also of my identity, maybe. So I'm Ralph Gideon Doron. That's my full name. My friends call me Gideon. I'm from Davao City in the Philippines, but I was born in Tacloban City. I come from a very traditional religious family. My dad is a seaman and my mom is a social worker. And then I graduated my bachelor's degree in information technology. So I came from that industry. But then I thought it's too boring for me. So I went back to my passion and then fine arts education. But then I feel like it's too competitive and expensive. So I moved to education. So that's how my educational background. And then I worked as a high school art teacher in the Philippines for 4 years before I moved here in Thailand.
So when did you move here in Thailand?
2017.
2017. So that's, if my math is correct, that's like 7 years now. How are you liking Thailand so far?
It's good. I like it because it's close to home. The culture is kind of similar. Plus, people are friendly, lovely here. And the food is good.
I can totally relate to you when you talk about your passion is fine arts, right? Because you did mention that, but then it is really hard for a lot of people to sustain themselves living and making a living out of themselves through just fine art. I can totally relate to that. Back in my days when I was in Canada, I also worked like 4 jobs just to get my life together, being able to afford rent and the things that I eat. So a lot of people try to find ways to also make a living out of it. So how did you end up choosing education and as in educating other people as a path in terms of, making a living for yourself?
Actually, I did not finish the fine arts degree. I only finished 1 year because I did not know the extent of the expenses going to art school. So after my first year, an artist in my hometown invited me to be an apprentice for sculpting and painting. But then I thought that I can't just do art all the time because I want to connect and communicate with people. So I thought maybe teaching can be an option for me where I can still do art, but at the same time, I meet more people, not too introvert, right? And then luckily I got an offer for a high school. And then, I thought it was a better option for me then to be like a full-time studio artist.
You did mention that the artist that invited you to be an apprentice was teaching you like sculpting and painting. Because art is so big, is there a particular stream of art that you're into yourself, or you're open to any sort of art and medium that you work with?
When I was younger, it's more on doodling, like those like fun cartoony style. But then when I went to like art education, it was more cultural, but it doesn't click with me. Maybe that's also a reason why I did not pursue that, because most artists, established ones in my hometown, they focus more on cultural ones, but I like more conceptual work, something more like maybe emotional or abstract. So which I think I found nice here in Thailand as well, because it's more vibrant and more alive here in Thailand.
And what sort of media do you work with?
Right now, I'm more into photography, sometimes drawing and mixed media.
And I'm also thinking, is it common that students in the Philippines get invited to become apprentices by I'm assuming an established artist, or was this like a lucky draw that you were invited to be an apprentice? What was the situation like?
For students out there, make sure that you network and you maximize opportunities that you get, like exhibitions or workshops. That's how established artists. So for me, my professor invited me to join an exhibition, and then it was mixed students plus established artists. And then one artist bought my work. He liked my work, and then he offered, like, you have a degree already. I think you don't need to finish this art school. So if you want, you can join me. Yeah.
That must have felt really amazing, right? To have your art bought out by an artist. What did you feel in that particular moment?
It kind of affirmed like, oh, I'm on the right path, maybe, like my skills kind of acknowledged. So that was good. And I think students also need that in order to continue the motivation and pursuing art.
I think one of the interesting point that I wanna explore more is in the past we had our previous podcast guests as well sharing sometimes they discover their passion later in their life. I'm hearing quite a similar storyline from you as well. Well, you graduated from information technology and then later on you realize that this is not something that you're passionate about. So I'm always curious to understand more of other people's, what were your process or journey or thoughts when you realized that, no, this is not for me, like, and where did you have that courage to make you, okay, I'm just gonna go for my passion? And how did you know that this is your passion, right? Because a lot of people still have quite clueless about what are we into or what can we consider as passion.
Right. I see that like as a common struggle with like high school students or university students. My experience is that my parents dictated what I can take in university. And also there's no art school yet when I was applying for university. So my options were limited. And as a good boy, I followed my parents. I thought of dropping out, but then I don't think that's practical. Well, in our case, because we're not like that privileged before. So and then after graduating, I worked in the IT industry for a year. By the way, I'm also grateful of what I learned in IT. And then I just don't see myself in that industry for a long time. Whenever we have project, I'm always in the graphic side, in the more colorful side, not the more programming or the math side. So after saving up enough money to enter myself to art school, I told my parents that I don't need money anymore from you. I think I can sustain myself and I'll pursue this passion. So
I can see that you definitely, through your experience in work, you probably realize that what makes you feel happier, even though you're in another industry, right? Probably through your past, you realize that, you would like to stick more with the graphic side, something that still have a linkage to art form stuff. And eventually you sort of develop the courage to find a solution for yourself to pursue the things that you feel called to. So I also wonder, normally, how does your inspiration come from? Especially when in art, right? Art is very free. And as a person who I don't consider myself too much of an art person or creative person, sometimes I wonder how people who are more in the art, how do you get your inspiration to create an art?
I think it depends on like what my era is. Back home, since the art style that were exposed to us were more cultural, so I also tend to make cultural artworks, like getting inspiration and references from the tribes that we have, the culture that we have. And then I have a season also of traveling, so I explored other parts of the Philippines, and I self-published my photo book about like different places and people, also different tribes. But here in Thailand, I was drawn more to Buddhism or meditation, so I kind of incorporate that with my artworks while I'm learning about the practice as well. So it depends on what's happening in my life, maybe, or where I am in. Actually, the reason why I moved to photography also is because I stopped painting and drawing, and then I thought like, photography is faster. But the idea of curating also is still there, and like your taste still like gets incorporated in the series or when you produce photography. So that's where I am right now.
So have you ever actually experienced like creative blocks?
Honestly, I just let myself like if I'm feeling artist block, well, I travel. And then I also try to read more whenever I get that.
Reading is another method for you.
Yeah.
What kind of?
Like art books and also biography as well. Let me try to remember. I get artist block. Just let myself rest maybe for now. because I know I will crave that hunger to make art again. That's how I see myself.
Seeing your reaction live, I think about about creative block is really funny because I feel like I'm reflecting on myself and also the reaction that you've made, that most of the time I feel like when artists have creative block, they don't really know they have a creative block, but they just know that something's blocking themselves. And then they're like, where can I get this? And sometimes it's really hard to, like, I already have a creative block. How am I going to figure out how to unblock this? Because the problem is it's blocked. It's that sort of loop. So that's what I got from like the reaction that you did just now. I totally relate to that. And coming back to what you've shared just now about, the landscape in the Philippines and when you were pursuing education in the beginning, and you said that you wanted to apply in the beginning, right? Like to arts or something like that, but there wasn't options for that. That's why you went into probably IT. So can you share with us what you know about the landscape of the art scene in Philippines?
I think I can't speak for the whole Philippines because we are very divided into regions. But in my home city, there's a division of like the established older artists and also the younger generation artists. So the established ones, it's more convenient for them to get venues and opportunities and collaborations with like the government and brands, while the younger ones always depend on them. So whatever is offered, that's the only opportunity. And then that's also the reason why I volunteered to a community in the Philippines in order to help like promote the talent that we have and like to even out the playing field for everyone. So
yeah. What I'm hearing is perhaps the landscape of Philippines in terms of the artists, because it is so scarce, perhaps there are big name artists that's monopolizing the whole artist market, right? How did you end up having that courage to want to even the playing fields, as you say? Like, what made you think that way? And what was the starting point of all of this?
I think part of it is also me, like trying to give myself opportunity also to compete or to join in the art scene. But also, it's the style that we have back then is too monotonous. It's boring. And I see the potential of like the younger artists and designers that we have. So yeah, if I can speak more to the community, we do workshops, we do conferences, we invite international artists and designers to join our conferences. And during our time, it was really like alive. We see like people engaging, and then also other cities trying to do the same thing that we're doing. So yeah, I feel like we were making some movements there.
I'm wondering when you joined the community back then, because what we do here in Buddy Up, we're also trying to create a community. Sometimes, our purpose of creating a community, I guess everyone who wants to create a community shares one very similar purpose, which is to definitely make connection. But what's more than that is to be able to share our resources and help each other to grow, right? So I'm wondering, in a art community back in the Philippines, how was the development of the community like? Was it really difficult, or was it easier because you already have a group of friends or volunteers who are into supporting art?
I'd say with just the main core group, it was easy to think and to plan. However, when you're actually doing these events, I think the knowledge of like management is lacking. That's why it wasn't too sustainable as well. So I kind of acknowledge that need with the team, because the passion is there, but then like technically we need like the other side in order to make it sustainable, right? Most of it was just out of our pockets, and then the time that we can make. Yeah,
Amen.
So, yeah. And then whenever we have events, okay, are you available at this time? And then not everyone will be free to meet, so we're just trying our best. But going into that community, I also learned like as best as we can, like how to manage ourselves as well, because there's no mentor that teaches you how to handle like project management or like looking for sponsorships, the documentation. It's all like we learn as we go. Yeah.
I can totally understand that, because we do events here as well, right? So sometimes it is like, as a startup, it is definitely harder for us to look for sponsor and all that. And of course, all of the management, organizing of different parties. Yeah, like totally understand where all the struggles that you mentioned. With that experience back in the Philippines, do you think that you would want to try it in the Bangkok landscape, like create a similar community for maybe the Thai or the international art enthusiasts here?
Well, I think what I've learned from there, I'm kind of applying into my job right now, because as a learning designer, there's more project management. I feel like I'm kind of equipped now to start maybe I don't know, maybe this is just too big, but okay, I'm manifesting. I already created a page and an IG account for, I call it Pad Thai, Philippine Artists and Designers in Thailand. So that's my current goal.
Can you share more about this page that you're developing? What is it about?
So I just want to start to gather the Filipino community, artists and designers in Thailand, because I feel like back in the Philippines, people just need a space and a platform to show hey, we're here, acknowledge the presence of people also. So I feel like that's lacking here. Since I moved here, it's so difficult to find that space, because most of the meetup that I went to is just for a specific workshop or skill-based event. But for Filipinos, I haven't got into any events that's focused on art and design for Filipinos here in Thailand. Yeah, there's a lot of Filipino teachers, artists here, and yeah. Hey. Hi.
Well, one of my really close teacher, I shared with you earlier, Mr. Bernie and Miss Alpha. If you're listening, I'm doing a shout out for Gideon here as well. Form a community here for the Philippines, Filipinos, designer, artists. I think it'll be very interesting to see another art community to thrive here, to share more, and to make the whole art landscape even more colorful, I would say. Most of my Filipino friends or teachers that I've studied with, definitely you're all very talented, especially in the art form, like singing, music, painting, drawing. So if I were to imagine, how this community can grow in at least in Bangkok, it feels to me like you'll definitely get that support I don't want to say quite easily, but because there is definitely a huge Filipino community here, and most of you are really talented as well. I personally think that you guys are also very supportive with each other. If you were able to shout out and connect one another, I think your page or your community will soon be able to host another meaningful event over here. And I would love to also visit, even though I have nothing to do with the art stuff.
Right. Yeah, my initial plan is to just set up a small exhibition, just to get it started. Not too ambitious yet, but to just get traction also from Filipinos here in Thailand before we do the big part. I feel it's exhibiting here in Thailand, it's so easy if you just know a venue, and with my experience in setting up exhibitions, I think it's possible. So I'm really hopeful about this. And also I know the people from my community before, and then the people that I know here in Thailand, I kind of see I have mentors and people that I can ask or consult about stuff here. So yeah, I feel more empowered and knowledgeable.
Your journey is really meaningful to the path that you're taking. And just speaking on the ends of our company itself, we're really in support of all sorts of community, especially in the arts realm. If any artists that's listening to this podcast episode as well, know that, Meguri is here to support you in terms of your journeys, your ventures. If you have anything you'd like support on, we'd love to do that for you. And I feel like that's something that, like you said, is missing in the big picture in Bangkok. I feel like a lot of the businesses who does try to venture into art really needs to see like the profit within it first before they actually dip their fingers, their toes into the art scenes and supporting the arts. But personally, for my end, I disagree with that because I believe that artists just needs to have a space for them to showcase themselves, and that changes everything. Just like your story about how in the past in the Philippines, you had a chance to showcase your work and an artist discovered you and then asked you for that apprenticeship, changes lives immediately, changes an artist's path. I'm not saying that all artists will go through the same or need the same amount of support. I'm just saying that having this support, knowing that it's there, that if they need it, it is there. It's a really big reliever for artists because it's already so hard to create art that is really dear to us. And to be vulnerable in the market as well in terms of just finding a venue really, fucks up with the creative process, in my opinion. And I feel like it's so nice to hear from you that you said that in Thailand, it's easy, at least to, finding processes to exhibit. That's great to know that there are options. And I wanted to just ask and bring us back a little bit to like the Philippines. And I'm wondering, like, since you've moved back to Bangkok, has Philippines itself developed itself in the art scene since then? Or do you feel like Bangkok is more of a art space in comparison to the Philippines?
When I visited, I think 1 or 2 years ago, I was invited again to exhibit. So I think it's bigger now. Because universities and galleries are collaborating now, like even high school level, artists and galleries are collaborating for projects. So even when you're just in high school, you can show your artworks already. So I think the scene is better. And that's what I saw in Thailand too, because your like art scene, like people are just well connected here, right? Like I can invite artists to come to my class and teach. I see more connections now happening. And then exhibitions are getting bigger. So we have annual exhibitions now where we invite like patrons and collectors internationally. So I see there's a development. But in terms of monopoly, I think it's still there. Yeah, like the big names still get the most opportunities.
So in comparison, when you speak it this way, in your own perspective, what's your viewpoint of Bangkok or Thailand in general in terms of the art scene?
The word that comes to my mind is alive. Like Thailand has a lot of exhibitions happening everywhere. And also this area, right, where Mikude is, this is the art district or design district. You have River City, you have murals and sculptures. And yeah, there's just a lot of like pockets of like galleries and studios here where if I'm just a visitor or if I'm a Filipino coming here as an artist, it would really like just make me feel alive. Whereas there, I don't see like that much spaces that compared to here in Thailand.
Is there a particular process right now for you as an artist in Bangkok that you use to find like connections here? And not long ago, you just put up your own, like your first exhibition here in Bangkok as well, right? How did you end up finding all the artists to collaborate in the exhibition that you put out?
Well, the people that I exhibited with, they're mostly my workmates. So it was just like, oh, we've been doing like exhibitions for our students, then why can't we do it for ourselves? So I finally decided that maybe it's time for us to go back to our passion and then show our story as well. But in terms of like, how do I keep myself like connected or know about the opportunities? I just visit like or attend the events that you have here, like Mango Art Festival and then the Biennale or the Design Week. People here likes to talk, so like wants to give you like share their techniques or their concepts. Yeah, so I just join, I just meet people, I add them on Instagram, and then just connect whenever there's a project coming up, and then we'll see if we can collaborate.
Do you mean you actively go out to these kind of events and connect with those people?
Yeah, so whenever I go to events, I have two things in my mind. One is like, what can I learn to improve my practice? And also, can they help us in our projects at school? Because we're doing like big project-based learning in my current school. So yeah, and yeah, most of them are really like open to collaborating.
Do you have any, like, as a teacher artist yourself, do you have any tips or tricks that you can share with other, younger people who are sort of like wanting to try out this socializing skill? Like, for example, if you go to an art event, how do you approach certain artists to, start a conversation?
Well, in River City the other day, I just go to like booths and then I pick out my like the most striking or my favorite artwork. And then I just ask the artist like, oh, what does this mean to you? Or how do you do this? What's your process? And then one of the artists, by the way, just gave me like, I think it was a 30-minute talk about like their process, like introduced me to other artists as well, and then showed me the different materials that they use. I told them I'm not buying the work, but they were still open to like sharing what they're doing. And then I'm an introvert, but because it's my passion maybe, and because I'm interested, I put myself out there.
Can I also understand more about your art style now? Because what I am hearing is back then you had more culture related? Is it still your style now? Like,
what's your current era?
Yeah.
I think it's more the tortured poets department.
I mean, my tortured artist department.
The starving artist department. Well, in photography, I shoot like more black and white, although it's not film, it's digital, but I take on more black and white or monotonous photos because I want people to focus more on the subject, not on like the colors or the patterns. So yeah, that's what I lean towards when I'm doing photography, which I'm doing most now.
So your main thing right now is more on photography. Oh, and do you have any plans? I know like this sounds a little too in the future, but currently are you feeling a little inspiration for getting back into maybe, I don't know, like painting or sculpturing?
Yep, I have a collection in mind. It's not going to be full-on painting, but mixed media. I was supposed to show that in our recent exhibition, but I did not finish that one, so I showed a different collection. So yeah, I have some, but it's mostly inspired by meditation. Somehow still the same concept, which is about acceptance and mortality. Yeah, acceptance of yourself, acceptance of life, and the unexpectedness of life.
Those are some deep topics.
Yeah.
Like, are you okay, Gideon? how are you today? How are you recently?
I'm okay. If I'm not okay, I won't be here. But yeah, because I went to I think the reason why I went deeper into that like idea, because I went to a silent retreat in Chiang Mai, like Vipassana 10-day silent retreat.
A silent retreat?
I heard about that. I've been wanting to try that too.
You should.
Like, can we, like a segue, can you share a little about how was your experience like?
Okay, so I went there because that was scheduled before I visit home, because something happened to my mom. She's like struggling with her health. At that time that was like worse, but now it's better. So I thought like before I go home, I want to like make sure that I'm okay and like I'm on the right mindset and I can handle myself. So I joined that retreat for 10 days. Well, they have 28 days if you can. That's a full course. But I thought 10 days would be enough. The shortest is 5 days if you want to go. No phones, no books, you can't write, no creative stuff. It's just you trying to practice the meditation that they teach there for 10 days. And then you wear all white to not distract you with like fashion or like any thinking. So they just want you to focus on like being present and meditating.
I was interested into this retreat as well, like way long ago, but because my personal schedule, I still couldn't really find a time to do it, because through my research, I know that like they have like 5 days, 10 days, 28 days. And I also tried to look into other people's review on what they do, right? So it's not just no phone, it's also no talking with each other. Basically, even though you are there with a lot of people, you're not allowed to make any kind of connection at all. You're not allowed to make external connection, but you're forced to make internal connection.
With all due respect, that sounds horrible. For someone like me who loves talking to people and connecting to people, that's horrendous. I can totally do without phone. I can totally do without work, but not talking. I'm like,
that is such a hard thing to just imagine, right? Like to this day, I'm still thinking like, will I be ready if I'm going to, go for this? But anyways,
No, but I'm assuming that has a big impact on your work and the current artist era that you're in, right? So what was the big takeaway from you in terms of like that whole experience?
It kind of slowed me down, just kind of showed myself to be more realistic. And like, if we just like sift everything to like the most basic needs, we really don't need anything like that much. Like, you just need to survive. You just need a shelter, food. Anything else is just distraction. And then also the idea of suffering. How do you avoid suffering, which is difficult? I mean, they say it so easily, but practice is difficult, like especially outside the temple, because this is the real practice, which I'm not practicing religiously. But yeah, the idea and the lessons are still what I try to remember whenever like I'm stressed or like I'm anxious about something.
So that inspired you to start a new collection on revolving around like life stuff.
Right. Yeah. Like, how to appreciate like the mundane things? How do you be present for the people that are around you? How do you accept that you're imperfect and that life can be short?
Did this experience change your the way you view art or the way you produce art?
I think in general, like the way I teach as well, the way I speak to my students or the way I react to them. Yeah, the just inspiration mainly, like also in art, like because art is a way of communication as well. So what do I want to share or tell stories to other people as well? So I just want to say like, chill out. Life is easy. Yeah.
Now I'm really curious of the look of your new collection. Would it be colorful? But to me, if I were to relate, like meditation or even like the Vipassana practice, I'm not sure if I am going to relate it to a colorful image, but at the same time, it should be feeling, peacefulness and calmness. Then what are those colors? To me, it shouldn't be black, white as well. So yeah, I'm really curious on, your new collection. So is it going to take how long will it be?
Well, we just had our exhibition, so maybe this will be like next year. So we'll have enough time. And yeah, I'm excited to show people too. So, okay, I have accountability to finish it now because I put in a podcast.
No pressure, but I really want to see it.
I have different styles when in different genre. Like, if it's mixed media, I tend to do more striking colors. But then if it's like photography, it's black and white or like muted or base colors. So yeah, I'm also interested in how I would finish this series. Yeah, because I've been experimenting with different materials. So this will be a more mixed media work. I'm also learning because some materials or colors don't work well with each other. So I keep changing and revising.
I think it's so nice to hear an artist's process and the mind works. Especially what you're sharing right now. To me, you feel like a person who's always constantly evolving and changing. And I feel like that's so nice. It's really lovely to hear that because there are some artists who are more stuck, I would say, for lack of a better word, like stuck up in their own way, which isn't bad either. It's their own style. But these days, I was just talking to Sin the other day about, Billie Eilish's new album and how I was thinking like, and not just Billie Eilish, but also Beyonce's album this year and how these artists are now breaking genres and bending genres. So now personally for me, how I view it is that their genres are now becoming more non-binary. So it's not like I'm releasing a pop album, I'm releasing a house or electric jazz blues. Like it's not stuck in like this category anymore. Whereas these days we're moving towards artistry that is more mixed media and like basically not categorized. And how I was listening, I was like, wow, like this is so interesting to see the development and perhaps like, especially with Billie Eilish, like, I would say a different generation, they are creating this sort of art, which we see where art is now going. And for artists who are open to changes and all these things, I appreciate that a lot because I personally also would relate myself to someone who's always constantly changing with the eras or with the, surrounding influences that affects me. Like even listening to you, I feel like I'm being influenced in a positive way of understanding the world in a new perspective. And that's so lovely.
Well, I had to come to peace with myself about that, because before, when I was in art school, my head was just like, I need to come up with my own style, my signature style, so that people can recognize me. But then my goal is not to be like a famous artist maybe. So that's why I'm okay to like just exploring different subjects or techniques. And also with my recent travels to the countries in Asia, there's just so many things that I can try as an artist. So yeah, I'm not limiting you to.
This might be a hot take, and this might be a hot take, but I feel like on the comment that you said, like, your goal is not to be famous or anything like that. I feel like if people's goal were to just be famous, they are planning themselves to fail, because the expectations you put on yourself is like, fame is something that's not quantifiable. What is fame to you? Like, do I receive 10 million followers and that's fame for me, and then that's it? Like, oh, I got it, I'm famous now. And then once maybe it reduces to 9 million, I gotta work my way up to 10 million again. So to me, fame is so hard to quantify. But what to me is important as artists to move forward onto, and what we also practice here in our company is the purpose and the passion of what we're working towards. If we have as artists a purpose in our creation, it doesn't matter if our creations change, but our purpose will really help us in crafting what it is, and the people who resonate with our purpose will find us at the same time as us finding them. So personally, I don't really move myself and I agree with you, like move myself in the direction and the goal of like, I want to be famous, because if that's what the goal is, then I don't think I will ever reach there. Because just like money, like I want to be rich, but then to everybody, rich is different. So to me, really, if we get to your goal in terms of richness or fame, people in general to me are very selfish, and we would always want more. So going back to the retreat idea as well that you said, I feel like what I got from that as well is, if you attach yourself to materialistic goals like that, like richness or fame, because these are probably measured by, followers or cash and things like that, then you'll never have enough of that. But if it's a purpose, something that is, I guess I'm like biting on my own tongue, but like purpose is also not like technically quantifiable, but I hope everybody gets where I'm going to. But that helps really much to achieve, because this is more of an experience. And when I, just to share a little bit in terms of like when I design events and when I think about the, sessions that we create here at Miguri as well, I tend to try to focus really deeply, because we are a creative events agency, to really dive deep into the experiences that you can take, because this is growth. This is things that you can take for the rest of your life, and not necessarily like a single materialistic thing that you take home with you. Like that would be nice too. That's always an add-on, but experiences change us and shift us and mold us into the butterfly after we are that caterpillar that's been searching for that love, that passion, that hunger for a purpose. And that's what we do. I think I went a little bit out of, like,
because I like how you mentioned detachment, because that's what they taught us in the temple, that in order for you to not suffer is to detach yourself from the worldly things, the one outside.
I tend to get into a certain topic in my life, and I talk a lot about it just to learn the concept and understand the concept. But with what you've said as well, I recently watched a YouTube video of a professor talking about this as well. What is happiness, right? And I've learned through that basically, in short, the professor was saying that people, I'm saying this more because like right now in the scene of Bangkok, pop mart is a huge thing, and pop mart is like art. Like artists create these like figurines, and like if for those of you who don't know, pop mart creates like figurines of action figures, like not really action figures, but cartoon figures that you can keep as collections. And most of them are sort of like a gambling catch-up-on style, where you don't know, like you unbox it, but you don't know what's inside. And people are really into that. And I'm not giving shade to these people, but this has become such a huge trend right now in Thailand. And I love that the artist is creating something that they love, and it's really iconic. And honestly so cute. Like I want one as well. But then to me, there is also this absurdly crazy hunger of people in the market wanting these sort of things. And then they even like line up hours beforehand and like even like get physical with each other. They fight each other to get like a limited edition like figurines and things like that. But what I'm trying to get at is that when I watched this video of the professor talking about how to search for happiness, they tapped upon the concept that, if we as humans want things, I'm talking about like pop mart stuff, like figurines or something like that. Once you have those sort of like happiness, it's very short-lived. So the need for you to want these things again will come back once you've achieved it. So that's why, going back to what I've said just now about purpose, it's something that keeps changing and developing and growing. So this sort of thing, you can always keep working towards it. And it's a good way to train yourself to not have something that you're like, the goal that you're looking forward is like, once it's a material, a thing that you can possess, once you possess these things, you already achieved it, then what's the next thing? So your mind trains yourself to strive for the next great thing. And in turn, it could create this sort of addiction for you to want more and more of this unnecessary stuff. And I feel like, yeah, going back to like just purpose and all these things can change.
Yeah, sorry. I want to connect that to like, I want to talk about purpose as the artist of like pop mart, because I went to an exhibition that talks about the hidden symbols and meaning of those toys, pop mart, that like kids take it as just toys, but then the symbols that are hidden there gets inculcated to their minds without knowing consciously that it's going to stay to them. So the responsibility of artists to produce artworks that are maybe safe and like also humane or maybe positive for the next generation, I think should be emphasized also with these trends.
One of the main reasons why I support art so much, even though I have very limited knowledge on art, but I'll always have my full support for art, any form of art, be it movie, film, series, paintings, drawing, photography, or even pop art figuring, sculpturing, any form of art, I am happy to give my full support. And one of the main reasons is I believe that art is really, like you said, a form of communication, and it's so powerful that, well, word is powerful already. Whatever we express through, whether or not we mean it or not, word has its power. And art is another really powerful form that the message just delivers subconsciously. For example, songs, music, the lyrics, Sony, you would know, like Taylor Swift's lyrics, right? Like people are able to dissect her messages. And even like art, through some kind of painting skill, like you show emotions through different colors. You can somewhat relate or resonate to a certain art piece, even though it's quite subjective. Like I see the same art differently from the artist maybe. That's what I want to say. It's so powerful. Like art, it's really powerful in a way that we are not even aware of. We're already receiving certain kind of message when we look at it. So it'd be really nice, like in my ideal world, that even though, there are like people who are more into business or not really into art, but again, our everyday life, we're actually dealing with a lot of art. Those art really teaches so many different lessons, which will become another like long talks and deep talks as well. But what I want to emphasize here is that the power of communication through art is, like you said, the responsibility of artists. The purpose of creating art to me is to do something that is positively impactful, that we can, if we want to create a supportive community through art itself.
I think that what I got from what Sin is also trying to explain is that when we create art, we should know exactly what Gideon, you also shared, the impact that you're having to the community, to the society that you are producing this art to. Not every art is, when it's created, we need to also know that you have the power that could change and shift society, just like pop mart. It is changing the landscape of like, figurines and art and how people consume art. To what Sin has also mentioned, I also believe, and I feel like if listeners, anybody who come across and meet Sin in real life, please give her a smack in the head. Because I do feel like she needs to stop saying that, that she's not an artist or something like that. Personal belief, because I feel like everybody in this world are artists in their own way in the things that they do. It's just the degree of art of where we channel the medium that we use. Art is in a different way. Business itself isn't sort of art. So by saying this as well, I also feel like pulling it to what Sin has just said, I feel like businesses in any sort of realm should understand the importance of art in the world. Art exists around us. The things that we're wearing today, the things that we're using, design in every sort of aspect, or even just management or communication. This is a form of art. So businesses that in the society these days, in the market, if businesses neglect to take art into consideration and think that that's not important, they should change, because art has the power to elevate and assist in a lot of the things that you do in business and make you money, basically, right? I want to just take us all back to where we began with this whole conversation, come back to Gideon and your passion in arts and in teaching and what you're doing right now. I want to know, how are you, and we're talking about education right now, right? About art and the power of art. How are you, or what do you do as a teacher in the educational field and as an artist to shape the next generation of students in teaching them and guiding them into the world of art?
Well, with my experience, I learned that not all students are inclined to art, but what I can do best for them is to introduce art to them and kind of maybe let them know that they can appreciate, they can articulate. I think it's the appreciation that I really want them to kind of get to know about, because as what you said, everything that's around us is art. Teaches us how to live, what our history is, where you came from, and how to move forward. So, and also that art, like there's career in art. You don't need to be like famous artists or whatever, but you can do art. You can, with your story also, that you can do art on the side while you're doing something, because we have different stories. Like maybe some people pursue art because to survive, right? But for me, art is like home. I can just go back to it whenever I need it. Yeah, that's one of my questions my students ask me, is like, why do you pursue art? And then my answer is that art is always there when I need it. Like when something happens or if I need more money, there's always art. And then, yeah, it's always there.
Is there any particular coursework that you always incorporate into your classes to introduce your students to the appreciation of art that you mentioned?
Before, when we have more structures, there's always that interpretation of artworks, whether we do like prehistoric or modern contemporary art. But now it's more in practice that we do in my current school. So it's more into discipline and then trying to design, like articulating your idea. What's the meaning of this artwork? I want them to think while they do art, not just because it's beautiful, but to, express themselves.
It's really nice that artwork can be a medium for us to learn about ourselves as well, especially some of the, I believe it's called therapy session. They all use artwork like painting as, a tool to help the participants to get to understand their own emotions more. Yeah, and also to express themselves as well. Yeah, even I think it was last month or 2 months ago, Migudi went on a volunteer trip to a orphanage. It's called Bamboo School. So basically, that school has a lot of orphanage who lost their home from due to war, and the founder shared with us that they don't have teachers there, but what they teach the kids is different form of arts. I asked the founder, is there anything we can do to help you out with, like any kind of teaching you can suggest us? And she said, just anything that allows the children to express themselves. And the things that she suggests are all art related. Singing, dancing, painting, yeah, they're all art related. So yeah, artists is so powerful that even agree with what Sony said. Yeah, I should change. I should stop saying that. Yeah, art people, business people. Yeah, but totally agree with what Sony said. That again, I just want to express how powerful and how powerful artists and why I really want to support art.
Oh, that's good. We should support each other. I like these small, or maybe not too small, initiatives. Just show we're not competitions. We're here to support each other.
With that said as well, I want to thank you, Gideon, for, taking your time from your busy, school with all the naughty students, to be here and share a part of your experience and as artists in another country, not your home country as well, and how you navigate your life as an artist here in Bangkok. Yeah, I just want you to repeat your information about the community that you're building. I think that's such an amazing thing for you who's trying to start up something that's so amazing as well for the community and for the people. I think your initiative and your bravery and your artistry to take this first step to create something, I know that it's going to be so great for all those people that get to know you as well and know this and get to be a part of this community that you're building. Do you want to leave the listeners with your information of the community that you're building?
Can I shout out first to the community in the Philippines that I cherish, to Davao Graphic Designers community? Thank you so much. You've taught me a lot, and all the event activities and projects that we had really helped me bring me to where I am now. To my plan of starting a small community, Pad Thai, Philippine Artists and Designers in Thailand. Yeah, I hope that this will be positive. And I'm not sure how long I will stay in Thailand, but I just want to, again, to start something where people can share their stories and let people know that you're here, you're heard, you're seen, and that we can support each other.
For anybody who wants to know how it's spelled and everything like that, I'll leave that in the caption of our episode. So be sure to check that out if you'd like to follow Gideon on his journey of creating this community as well. So thank you, Gideon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been another cathartic discussion, getting to know a new friend who's thriving in the education and artist society. If you've enjoyed this episode, please remember to like and subscribe to our podcast channel, Buddy Time. Your support means the world to us. All right then, Gooby. Join us again next time as we guarantee you won't want to miss the vibes. See you!